Welcome, everybody. This is episode 4 of the Wandering Son podcast. My name is Eric Villatoro, and I'm here with Enzo Uribe, a good friend of mine. Enzo, I met you at church. I recently had gotten saved. This was about a year ago, and I saw you. My first introduction to you was you playing the drums, actually. You literally playing the drums with obviously in the band, Soberano. And then as I got to know you more, I find out, oh, this guy does sound for the whole church. This guy does design, like graphic design for the whole church. This dude's about to get married. Now you're married. And then as I started to get to know you more, it was like, oh, he's been in the church for a while. And he's been serving the church for a while. Yeah. And then you also dress like really cool. You got the Balenciagas, you know what I'm saying? Going crazy. There's a lot going on, but you are obviously a son. You are a husband, a leader in the church. You're a creative. So I'm super excited to just have this conversation with you because I think you're going to bring a really young and just cool, interesting perspective to this. But is there anything that I'm missing, man, as far as like your trajectory of where you're at right now?
Let me see. I like graphics for church. Sound for church. I've always liked the whole technical creative thing, that you do for a church. And I'm thankful that at my church, we're free to like express ourselves in those areas. Sound, recording, live streaming, cameras, taking pictures, graphics, all of that. It's fun.
And even now, with how you're saying with the live stream, that's been something new that we've had to dabble. And I want to actually go into that area. How is it? I don't want to compare, but you just mentioned like, right, you're in a church that actually is willing to go into those areas. And I know you, like many, have come from like a conservative church or a church that doesn't look that deep into the new age. So how has that been for you, and how important is it for a church from your perspective to, dabble and see different ways of communicating with people?
Well, I guess like from the place where I come from, it's like the old church that I used to go to. I wanted to do the same thing, because at my old church, I was there since it started. So it was like 10 of us. And then, the church kept on growing and I saw the need. Every time we had service, I was like, this sounds bad. Like it sounds bad. The pastor was like yelling the whole time. There was feedback in the back.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like it. So then I remember I started praying and I was telling God, I was like, God, I just want to learn everything that I need to learn for the church to function, the technical, like I want to learn all the technical stuff. I want to make this look nice. I think it was only me and this other girl that we were like the youth of the church. And I was like, we need more young people here. Like, I want to make this, I wanted to look cool.
Yeah.
Why does things from the world have to look cool, but the church can't look cool? And I knew I had a challenge because I come from it was a Pentecostal church. They were on fire for the Lord, but then when it comes to like bringing those things that they see out there to the church, it's a sin, or it looks like a sin. So let's not even get there. So I was like, I need to find a way to bring this to church. But my thing was like, first I need to learn it. So then I started praying. I kept telling God, my main prayer was, God, just teach me how to do sound. Teach me how to run a camera, how to turn it on. I don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
And then I started to like find out that at my school we had we have classes that I can learn all these things. So then I took photography for like 3 years. And then the class next to that, it was graphic design. So I was like, I need to take this too. So I took that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then after that, there was TV production, and I went to that. I had like 3 electives at the same time, bro.
TV production gang.
Bro, I was in TV production for like 2 years. And then I had TV production, and I have the yearbook class. So I had 3 electives going on at the same time. I had graphic design, the yearbook, and TV production. So I was always in the hallway.
That's great.
The whole time taking pictures, taking videos, because we had like a little TV show at school. Every morning they would show the announcements. So I would like go in the hallways and record stuff. So people thought that I was always skipping, but I wasn't.
You were
I mean,
working.
I did skip at the end, but most of the time, to me, school was fun because I was always doing something that I wanted to do. And thank God at the end of the day, I ended up using it for his glory, for real. And that's what I wanted. I ended up learning a lot. And one of the things that I'm very thankful for now is that at my church, we have people that actually want us to like grow in what we know how to do.
Yeah.
At my old church, it was kind of difficult because, like, first of all, they don't really believe in that stuff.
Let me right there though. Why do you think there's a hesitation for churches to advance in technology? And I know you mentioned like, oh, they think, or they might think it's a sin.
Yeah.
What do you have you thought about that? Or what do you think it is that makes them uncomfortable?
That's one of the reasons why. But then at the same time, I think that people, I mean, they're just not ready to invest money into that because they don't see it as a priority. And the thing is this, they stayed in that thought for like ever. So they never get to step out of that and be like, oh, we actually need this. And we have someone that is willing to do and been putting in work. So let's give him what he needs. I don't know, especially when it's a new church that just started. Their main focus is just let's just bring people to church.
Yeah.
But they don't think about like how can we bring people to church? Especially nowadays, bro. Like you need to be on social media. If you're not on social media, bro, your church literally doesn't exist, basically.
Yeah, and I guess to be fair too, there has to be a balance, right? Because there's some churches that focus so much on graphics and how it looks, and they're dead. Like the spirit is not flowing through them. So obviously there has to be a balance of like, man, you have to really put a focus on discipleship and focusing on what the spirit wants to do in this building through the church, and then also being brave enough to expand and having vision to expand. So it has to be like a balance, right? And I think we are blessed at our church that they have both. So that's really cool. And it's cool because I took TV production as well. I did the same thing as you on the last year though. Bro,
you only did it for 1 year.
For 1 year, I took like 3 electives. I took a Photoshop class, I took a TV production, and I think I took like art or something. And I was just like, I'm going to just go all out. You know what I'm saying? I got a 3.0. I don't really need that crazy of a GPA. And I did that, but it's just crazy how God, like even looking back at that time, that was a seed. You know what I'm saying? It was him preparing us.
Definitely. I didn't even know that thing existed, bro, at my school, honestly. Because I didn't even want to be in school, bro. So
yeah.
So my mind wasn't even there until like I started praying. I started telling God, I need to learn this stuff. Where can I learn it from? Bro, I literally used to, even when I was already in like having those classes where I was learning, I would go back home and I would literally watch videos on YouTube all night, bro, all night. Because I wanted to learn about sound, and I didn't have a class that would teach me sound in school. So, and that was my main thing first. I was already taking, TV production, photography, graphic design. So I was like, I got this other parts covered. I'm learning there, but I need to do sound too, because that's the main part. I would literally get home, bro, and like watch videos all night. And I used to live far away from my school because I didn't want to go to. I used to live in Maryland, but I would go to school in Virginia.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to schools in Maryland. So, I had to wake up extra. I had to wake up extra early to get to school. But I remember like I had to leave my house in Maryland like around 6:30.
Jeez.
And it will be like 4:30 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm still watching this video. But I just wanted to keep on learning because I wanted to learn fast. And it was cool, bro. And I remember it was cool because at that time, it was when the digital stuff this was like around 2012.
Yeah, bro. We were right at the start. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was like, crap, I just learned how to do analog. Now I need to learn how to do digital. But then it was easy because I understood like the main stuff.
I think we're so lucky as our generation. I can't speak for other generations, right? But our generations in the 90s, right? Like I'm born 95, you're like what, 93 or 94?
93.
93, right? Like I think it's so special that we got to live without technology, right? And we got to live that life and really appreciate not having technology. And then we, in our teenage years, or going into teenage years, we get to have this crazy access to technology where we can go to YouTube and learn whatever we want, right? Because YouTube started in 2007. It didn't really start taking off probably until like 2010, 2011, where it's like you could find everything, right? And so we were able to see those two sides, actually have a childhood playing outside. And then once we start getting into years where we care about actual things, having that tool to be able to learn, it's really, really, really good. And even for like, I think it's very good for us to point out, like, if there's people listening who want to do something creatively, like, I didn't go to college. Did you go to college?
No, I didn't even think about it.
I dropped out.
Bro, that's why I didn't want to go, because I knew I was going to drop out.
You might be like me. But we both, like, I know audio engineering, video editing. I know a little bit of design. Audio engineering. You're getting into video editing now. Even audio, how to mix audio, how to do live audio. And we didn't go to school for this stuff. Just go on YouTube. YouTube University, make it happen. You know what I mean? And the beautiful thing is that if you are pursuing God at the same time, He will use those tools for His glory.
He'll give you more wisdom, honestly, bro. You see me sometimes that we have like a little issue, and I'm like, crap, we need to fix this like ASAP. And I'm like, all right. I try to focus. On the weekends before we start the live streaming, we always pray. We always tell God, God, take control of our thoughts. Give us wisdom, control of the equipment. Nothing that happens. So God already has everything under control. Yeah, sometimes we stumble into like a little issue, and we have to fix it right there. But we, God gives us the wisdom and the patience, bro. We need a lot of patience for that.
Yeah, man. And He's training us, because it's funny, because we do pray, and man, it's probably been only one day that something doesn't go wrong. Yeah. But from looking at it, it's like, man, I know that He's training us for, like something bigger and for what's to come, whether as the church grows and as we grow individually in our own projects. So it's crazy. I want to go a little back, man. I mean, obviously, you're in a good place right now, as in creatively, right? And we have a good church.
I love our church.
Shout out to King of the Nations. You know what I'm saying? We in Maryland. Come visit us. Well, not yet. We close right now. It's a whole pandemic. Let's go a little bit back, man. I recently heard that you can grow up in church, but that doesn't mean that you are a part of the church.
Oh yeah.
Right? You grew up in church, or am I wrong?
I grew up in church.
You grew up in church.
Yep.
When was it for you? When was that moment that you it became real to you?
Honestly, I would say that I grew up in my old church, and I was always looking to make things better. So I never really had anybody like pouring over me. Just walking with me, discipling me. So that has a lot to do with like your walk with Christ, especially because I was a teenager. I'm curious of other things at the same time, but I love God. This is the way that I want to go. So when even though I was at church all the time, before King of the Nations, even though I was at church all the time, working for the church, I was close to the pastor, bro. We used to have a radio station. I was there all the time. I was with him all the time. Yes, I had my walk with Christ, but it wasn't like how it is now. Because I felt like back then, I didn't even know what a relationship with God was. I just knew that I need to pray. So I guess when I came to King of the Nations, and I was like, whoa, this looks different. I'm a Christian. Why does it look so different to me? For real. Because I remember like the first time I went to King of the Nations, I went to it was I think it was Earth Like Heaven. Melanie took me there, and
that's your wife now too. Shout out to wifey.
Exactly. So we were there and we were praying. I mean, they were praying. I was just, taking everything in. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. It feels like good in here.
Yeah.
Like the presence of God there was crazy, bro. And as soon as I walked in there, I remember Jasmine. She just got married this weekend. So Jasmine, she was praying for Melanie. Oh no, something like that. I think they had something going on, and it was just crazy. Everybody was on the floor, bro, like literally, crying out to Jesus. And I remember, like, out of nowhere, I just got hit, bro.
Wow.
I got hit and I ended up on the floor. I was like, what the heck is going on? I was like, God, is this you? Because, bro, it just looked different from me. Because, there was so much freedom in the spirit there. There was everything it just felt like as soon as you walked in there, bro, like you were not coming out of there the same way.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So that's when I was like, whoa, this is what I want. That
Yeah.
was like the start of who I am now and how I see my perspective of what it is to seek Jesus or what it is to feel him.
Yeah.
Before it was like the louder I prayed, that means I'm on fire for the Lord, So now it's different. Now it's like you actually have to have a relationship with him to understand him, to know his way, to know how he speaks to you.
Yeah.
I was talking to Melanie like one of these days, and I was like, if you put me in a if you sit me down and on a chair, and there's like a whole bunch of people, and they touch me, and you touch me, I'll feel you. I know which one is you because I know how it feels when you touch me. When you have a relationship with God, you already know that. Oh, that's his voice. Oh, that's you, Jesus.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that before. But then when I started going to King of the Nations, they were like, yeah, we're here. We're the church is here to push you closer to Jesus, to push you closer to Jesus through your gift, and we want to find more. And like we want to push you to find more in yourself. And I was like, wow. So that's when I started learning more about the gifts that God has given me and how I'm using them for his glory. And that just changes everything, bro. That's what pushes me to you already know, bro, on the weekends, bro, I love getting to church early.
Yeah.
I just love doing this for him. I love it.
Even right now, I'm reflecting on how great our church is, because, and this is not no promotion for our church. I mean, come through because it's amazing, but it's really because they do an amazing job at really cultivating the spirit in us, right? And you're right, about the gifts. Like, I mean, I had the same experience as you when I came in and I saw people on the floor and I saw people, young people worshiping, seeing people with their hands up, seeing people laid out, screaming, not screaming, but like little shouts and that are almost angelic. It's like, man, okay, hold up. And then I did go to the same class that you probably did, where they teach you about your gifts and the gifts of the Spirit, and give you a little, little nice simple test that shows you which gifts you could possibly have. And then, then they figure out a way to, okay, these are your gifts. Would you want to serve the church? Would you want to explore these gifts a little bit more, and then put you around people who are hungry for God and can also help you figure out how you can use those gifts for the glory of God? It's really great. And I was talking about this with Carlos on the second episode, where, he was like, man, some people don't even know how fortunate they are, man. Like, and I can fall into that category where this is my first official church.
Yeah.
And I'm coming in meeting people like you and meeting people like Melanie, like Darvin, like Christian, like Carlos. And I'm like, man, this is what church is supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
When you were in your other church, or, in your previous churches per se, though it might have not been the same experiences as what you're experiencing now, it was still very real. And by that, I mean that you saw some crazy things, manifestations, and you saw the spirit realm.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell me about that, man? I just think it's so interesting. We see these things in movies and scary movies, and we've kind of desensitized ourselves from these things, right? Like, oh, it's just a movie. People getting demonized and
Yeah.
like transforming into somebody else. It's this movie things. But no, I've never seen this stuff. You actually seen this stuff. Can you tell us what was one of the craziest moments that you experienced in the past, with the spirit realm?
Well, there was a lot of stuff, bro. Like I think one of the main things that really impacted me, because it was like fresh to me. Like I told you earlier, I was really close to the pastor. I was really close. We were
Yeah.
very close. So I was always with him. He would like he would get invited to go to churches and preach. And we also had a little spot at the radio station, and it was fire. It was definitely fire. And I remember one time, a lot of people always call. Like, you will hear all types of stories, bro. People needing prayer for like crazy stuff. Even pastors, I'm like, what the heck?
You a pastor?
Pastor, why are you going through this stuff? But I remember one time, this lady called, and it, like, we could even what she needed. She just needed prayer. But we just remember that when I answered the phone. I answered the phone, and this lady was like, "Hey, I need prayer. I'm going through stuff. I'm like battling some crazy stuff right now." And she was like, "Is it possible for you guys to come to the house and pray for me tonight?" And she, I don't think I'll go past tonight. I was like, "What the? What's going on?" So I remember I got her number, and then when the radio was over, I told my pastor, I was like, "Yo, like, this lady needs prayer," and like she was telling me a whole bunch of crazy stuff. She gave me her address and her phone number. So, do you want to go right now? And he was like, "Yeah, let's go." So I remember it was the pastor, like two other guys from the church, and the pastor's wife and me. And he had his son. He was like, at that time he was like 5. And I remember we showed up at this lady's apartment. And we opened the door. As soon as we opened the door, she was like, "No, tú no entres aquí." I was like, "Oh, what the heck is going on?" She was like, "No, you don't come in here. You don't come in here." She was pointing at the pastor. And I was like, "You just told us to come here." And then we went in there, and her husband was like, yeah, come in. They were in the living room, but the lady was like, as soon as she saw the pastor, she was going crazy. And I was like, whoa. But this lady she was like, I'm telling you, bro, demonized, like, but like crazy.
Yeah.
And then I remember, like, as soon as we got in there, like, the pastor was like, he walked in there, calm. He wanted to talk to her, but she couldn't speak. So her husband was like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on," because she was literally on the floor. But by the time we were already inside the apartment, she was on the floor. But she was moving in weird ways. And I remember that her husband was like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on. She's pregnant. She can't even be doing that. She's gonna kill the baby." And
what the heck?
But she was like manifesting on the floor. So then, the pastor put his Bible down, his stuff. He put his stuff down, and he started praying. And then we all started praying. And I remember this lady started yelling, bro. She started yelling like crazy. And then we were literally there for like probably almost 2 hours praying for this lady.
And how old were you when this was happening?
I think I was like 18. Yeah, that was like around 18, 19.
Okay, you're like what, 27 now? So it was okay. And what were you thinking? And like, you're seeing this. What's going through your mind?
I was like, whoa, what the heck did we get ourselves into? Because we were just coming from the radio. We were having fun in the car, and then it was literally out of nowhere. We just ended up at this lady's place, and all this crazy stuff was going on.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. I mean, I had already seen like manifestations at the church,
right?
But this was on another level. So then I remember we just started praying for this lady, and then the pastor tells me, "Hey Enzo, go outside. This is too much. Take my son outside. He can't be seeing this stuff. He's not going to be able to sleep at night." So I took him out, and then another brother that was with us, he came out with me too, because that was too much for him. So then, we were just outside, and then I told the other brother, I was like, "Yo, stay here with him. I'm gonna go see what's going on in there." So he stayed with his son, and I went inside. And I remember when I went inside, this lady was like trying to throw up, but she couldn't throw up. And I remember the pastor was praying for her, and then the pastor told the lady's husband, here, you lay hands on her stomach. I'm gonna pray on you, because pastor didn't want to touch her just like that, because it's he didn't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
And the pastor was praying for them, and then this guy was like, "No, I can't touch her. It's hot. Like her
Whoa.
it's hot. I can't touch her." And then the pastor's wife, she stepped in, and then she started praying. They both started praying for the lady, and then this lady started throwing up, bro. This lady started throwing up. I remember when she was throwing up, she was like on the floor.
Yeah.
She was looking at the pastor, and then all I remember is that this lady opened up her mouth, bro, like really big. And her teeth literally looked like they were moving around. I was like, oh my God. I thought I was hallucinating, bro, but it was crazy. It was that crazy, bro. I was so serious. And then I remember that she ended up throwing up, and then she threw up. It looked like what she threw up looked like engine oil. But like jelly. It was weird. It was like a big pile of that, bro, like literally. And then after that, this lady, after she threw up, she literally went on the floor, and she knocked out. She knocked out, and then we stopped praying, and we just waited for her to come back. And she came back, and then this lady, she was just like, she looked new.
Yeah.
Like her face looked completely different. And then the pastor was like, "So how do you feel?" And she was like, "I feel so light. I feel free. I feel peace." And the pastor was like, but what happened? What caused this to happen? And she just stayed quiet. And then the pastor asked her husband, and he was like, "Honestly, I don't know. All I know is that at night I didn't want to go to sleep with her, because I will always feel weird stuff. She will always wake up, like, she will be sleeping, she will get up, like she will stand right next to the bed looking at him."
Bro, that's like paranormal activity, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Oh no.
And then he was like, and then every time I would tell her that she was being creepy the night before, she wouldn't listen to me. She wouldn't pay attention to me. I never knew what was going on. And then this lady, bro, after that, she looked skinny. She literally looked skinny, bro. And then an hour passed, and then the lady was like already good. She was able to speak, and then she was like, the pastor was like, "I want to know what's going on. I want to know what caused this." And she was like, "My father did a pact with the devil." And he was like, "And I also have," she said, like what's it called? Like she had like a little gang, like a little team, basically, that she hired to kill people. Like they will pay her to like kill people back in like El Salvador or whatever.
And this is like physically or like spiritually, like doing like,
bro.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, she was deep.
It was some heavy stuff, bro.
Yeah.
But I stopped that, because I tried to do it my first time because it was good money, but it didn't work. But then the devil kept going back to me, and she was like, and there was a snake living with me. And I was like, well, I was just listening in the back. I was like, what the heck?
So there was this snake living with me?
She said that there was a snake living with her. And she was like, there was a snake living with me in this apartment. Nobody could see her, only me. And she was like, I was always hungry, but that snake would literally go inside of me, and then it will come out, and it will speak to me. I was like, what the? Dude, it was crazy.
No. Yeah, my goodness.
And then she was like, I will always feel hungry because I will eat a lot, but it felt like like the food wasn't going anywhere. And she was like, I would try to ignore that snake, but I couldn't. And whenever I wouldn't pay attention to it, the snake would throw stuff at me. I was like, what? Bro, it legit sounded crazy to me. It was really crazy.
Yeah, she was deep.
Bro, it was like, I never heard stuff like that. That was way too graphic for me. Oh, Jesus, oh my God. But it was crazy, dude. And then, we prayed for this lady. She ended up coming to our church, but that was some crazy deliverance, bro. And I remember after that, the pastor, he actually went on a fast for like 2 weeks. and he told everybody that was there praying for that lady to go on a fast for 2 weeks. And I remember at that time I used to stay at the pastor's house a lot, and we started, we started to fast and to pray. And then I remember one time I stayed over at his house, and I was sleeping on the couch, and then the door, they used to live in an apartment and all the way at the top floor, and they had a balcony. I was on the couch. It was like 2-3 a.m. I was on the couch, and then the blinds opened. I was like, whoa. And then as soon as the blinds opened, his son came out of his room crying. He came out of his room crying. He was like, Dad, there's someone in the room. And then he got up, and then we went to the room. There was nobody there, but the window was open. And then I told him, I was like, yo, like the blinds literally opened when he came out of, before he came out of the room. And he was like, we're being attacked. We got to keep praying. And bro, that kept happening for like during those 2 weeks that he was fasting and praying.
And you think that was obviously because of that deliverance that he...
Oh, yeah, definitely. I asked him, I was like, what's going on? Because, that was new to me. I was like, I don't want to be here. This is going to be happening.
Yeah.
But he was like, honestly, this is stuff that you can't really run away from. You just know that you have authority from God, so we got to keep fighting.
Wow.
But every time he would tell me that, it just wouldn't click in my mind, bro. Now that I have a little bit more wisdom, and from what I learned at my church, I'm like, wow, that's so true. Like, now it makes sense. Like, he would tell me, like, we got to put on our, our
armor.
I was like, what does that even mean? Does that mean that we got to keep praying?
Yeah.
But now I know that, armor means like, we got to fast, pray, read the word, all those things. Cause we got to be ready. But back then it just didn't make sense to me. Cause I was so focused on being there, working next to the pastor. That's why I see a lot of the things that happen at our church that I think that are important, because I used to work next to a pastor, and I saw, like, now I see a lot of things that I didn't see before, but that they're needed. But yeah, it was crazy, bro. That was one of the things that really hit me, like impacted me in my walk with Christ, because it was just new to me.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't see that, man. I don't know if it's crazy, but I want to see that stuff because, it's that thing where it's like, we obviously have faith in God and we don't see him. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of people don't want to believe in God too, because it's so easy to see darkness.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's so easy for them to see it, but then also a lot of people haven't seen it. And so having those testimonies of like, yo, hey, this is not just in movies, bro. Like, this is really happening. I think it just puts things into perspective. You know what I mean? In the place that you are right now, right? I don't think we're seeing a lot of deliverance in our church. I mean, it does happen.
It happens. I honestly, I feel one of the things that I've learned from our pastor is that when things like that have happened at church, people don't really notice it happens because pastor knows how to deal with that at the moment. If we see, a demon manifesting, we already know that we don't have to focus on that. Like, everybody doesn't have to focus on that. One person can literally go over there. We already have authority. All we got to do is, in the name of Jesus, you got to get out. You get out.
Boom.
Exactly. So, because demons during the church, when they start manifesting, it can be a distraction too. And we need wisdom when that happens. Yeah. And I've learned that at my church. I learned that at our church now. Because before, I remember that when there was a demon manifesting, everybody would literally focus on that. Everybody would stop praying, and only like the leaders or the pastor, the deacons would go and pray for that person. And
everybody's just looking.
Exactly. Everybody's just like, oh, what's going on over there? And we got to be ready, bro. I mean, we just got to be ready. And not make that priority. There's people that, the church has people that are ready and prepared for people like that.
Yeah. And that comes with being a good, like you said, having a good pastor. Like pastors that were calling up on the radio station like, yo, I need help. You gotta really check your heart.
Yeah, for real.
Check your faith, because, as a pastor and just as a follower of Christ, period, you do have power. And you can battle these things, and so Man, and it's crazy even when you start talking about manifestations, and not everything is a manifestation. Not everything manifests in the same way. Sometimes we're dealing with demons and oppression, and it comes in the form of anger, and it comes in the form of depression, and it comes in the form of lust, or whatever the case may be. There's different forms, and I think that's one of the dope things about being a Christian is like you have this understanding where it's like, man, I don't need to fight this myself.
Yeah.
Like I have power. So you put on that armor, you just get in your word, you pick up the sword, you know what I'm saying? And you get to work. Right now in your life, man, with the pandemic, well, right now you're a freelancer, right? You do work for the church and you do work for other churches, and you're constantly moving. You don't have a stable job per se. One thing that I've learned about you, or that inspires me, one of the many things, is your trust in God, right? You like trust him to provide, right? And a lot of times it's hard for us to have that type of trust because we don't have faith, right? That he's going to provide. Can you just expand on that? Tell us your testimony on that and just really talk to the people about having faith in the Lord providing.
Oh, that's crazy, bro. Honestly, that has been another new thing for me.
Okay.
That I was happy to take on, and I was ready to test it out. I've been married for like a year now.
Yeah.
And walking into marriage, my fear was always like, I always had this thought in my head that I don't want to go through stuff that I've seen my parents gone through, like the financial stuff, because that's hard, bro. I've been through moments where we have gotten kicked out of our own house. We have gotten kicked out of apartments, and I'm like, I don't want to go through that. I cancel that in the name of Jesus. That's not going. That's not coming here. For real. But then, ever since I got out of school, I always work with my dad. He has a construction company, and my dad has, he's a hardworking man. He got his own stuff going on, but I kept seeing stuff in my parents that I don't want to fall. I don't want to fall into. So, walking into marriage, I was like, God, I don't have a stable, like, I don't want to, first of all, I don't want to work in construction anymore. I want to do what I love to do, which is you have given me the wisdom to learn, like all the things that I know.
And I just want to clarify this because it was just in my heart. But like when we see these patterns in our parents, it's not that it's fully their fault, It's just part of God's plan also, and it's what made us stronger. Like those things that, that attack them, those obstacles that they went through as Hispanic parents specifically, right? Us being Hispanics, like we don't look at them and say, man, I don't want to be like that. We appreciate what they did, how hard they worked, and the fact that they came to this country and made something happen and provided the best that they can. But at the same time, with the understanding and the wisdom that the Lord has given us, is like, man, we can have better. The Lord tells us, like, man, I can give you more so that your family can have more, not just your future family, but even your parents. So just wanted to clarify that, you know what I mean? Because
definitely. Yeah. But yeah, walking into marriage, that was my fear. Like I remember because I proposed to Melanie in March of last year, and we got married in August. So during the time we were engaged, we started looking for apartments. We just wanted to get ready. We had the wedding on top of that, and I was just always telling God, please just provide. Just provide, because I don't want to go to my dad and be like, yo, Dad, I need $5,000 or $10,000. I knew he didn't have it. So literally the whole time I never asked anybody for money, because I remember one time the Lord told me through a close friend, and he was like, hey, the Lord says that you'll be okay. He'll provide everything that you need. Like, literally, don't worry. And that felt so good at the moment, because I had that in my mind the whole time. God, how am I going to do this? Like, I had that fear that it wasn't going to go right when it came to like the financial part.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the wedding. And on top of that, I was thinking about after the wedding.
I mean, yeah, you got a new apartment. You're getting, you're living together for the first time. It's a lot of expenses. Yeah.
Yeah, and then bro, I literally, when we were engaged, going, in the whole road towards the wedding, bro, I kept seeing God. Me and Melanie kept seeing God all the time, bro. Like literally, dude, we didn't pay a single penny for the wedding. Everything
Yeah.
was a blessing, dude. And then when I saw God manifesting and providing for the wedding,
And it was a good wedding.
yeah, bro, I loved it. It was beautiful.
It was a great wedding.
It was beautiful. But then when I saw God just providing, bro, I remember like during the time we were engaged, we started looking for apartments. We literally went to like 30 different apartments, bro. They were all taken. The first apartment we went to is the one where I live at now. And I remember when we first came here, we were at the office, and I told Manny, I was like, "We're gonna live here. I can feel it." And then she just looked at me and she smiled. This was after, like literally a week after I proposed to her. And then we forgot about this apartment, so we kept looking around because they told us here that they had like they would just put your name down, and if you were, whenever they had an apartment available, if you were the first one, they were gonna call you. So we went to a whole bunch of different apartments, and then it was like literally 2 weeks. We were 2 weeks away from the wedding, and then the last apartment that we went to, they called. It was a Tuesday. They called Melanie, and they were like, "Hey, sorry." They sent her an email saying that we didn't get approved for the apartment. And then I remember Melanie, she called me, and she was like, "Babe, we don't have a place to live. Like, I don't want to live with your parents. I don't want to live with my parents. What are we gonna do?" And then, I remember I told her, I was like, "Babe, don't worry about it. God's gonna come through." That happened on a Tuesday. The next day, on Wednesday, I remember I was at church with Carlos. That we were working at church, and then Melanie calls me. It was like around noon. She was like, "Babe, guess what happened? The apartments, the Siesta Key apartments, they just called me. They say they have an apartment available. If I want it, I have to go right now." I was like, "Go." So she went to the apartment. She signed the papers, and then we got it. That was 2 weeks before the wedding, bro. And God just kept providing. We needed money to put down. We didn't even have the money, bro. And literally, God provided the money for that.
Where did that money come from?
Actually, I don't even remember, because literally everything happened like that.
It's just like back to back. Yeah,
for real, dude. Even her dress, when she couldn't find her dress, and she found it like 2-3 weeks before the wedding. We didn't have the money for her dress. I remember she went to the store. She went to the store to find the dress. She found the dress, and then I was at her house. When she got to her house, she was like, "Babe, guess what happened?" I was like, "What happened?" She was like, "I found the dress." And I was like, "How did you pay for it?"
Yeah.
So like my mom showed up with like an envelope that her boss gave her to give it to me. It was a a gift, a present for the wedding, and it was the exact same amount that the dress cost. I was like, "What?"
Man,
the ring was another thing, bro. That was another crazy thing too. Let me tell you how that happened, bro. So look, before I proposed to Melanie, me and Melanie, we go to different churches and lead worship. So this pastor, he called us. He was like, "Hey, can you guys come lead worship this weekend at our church?" And then I was like, "Yeah." We're like, "Yeah, we'll be there." So we went to the church. It was beautiful. After the service ended, the pastor was like, "Hey, can you guys stay? I'm gonna celebrate my daughter's birthday, and just stay. It's gonna be fun." So we ended up staying. The party was beautiful, and then the party was over, and then we were helping the pastor clean up.
Yeah.
And then the pastor comes up to me and Melanie, and he's pointing at me. He's like, "The Lord says that it's time for you guys to get married." And then he's like, "Hey, you, Enzo, the Lord says that you don't have to ask her parents for permission. You just have to ask for her blessing, because you already have the permission from the Lord." I was like, "Whoa, what the?"
That's a bar.
Yeah, dude, for real. I was like, "Wow, okay." So then, we left the church. It was beautiful, bro. It was beautiful. The next day, on Monday, we started planning with Melanie, and that week, she was gonna leave to Mexico. She was gonna leave to Mexico to lead worship over there. And I remember, we were planning the wedding. I was like, she was like, "When do you want to do the wedding?" And I was like, "I felt like we'll have to do it by the end of August." And then, we said that date. I dropped her off at church at King of the Nations on Thursday, because she was gonna leave with pastor and the team to Mexico. And I dropped her off at church. I remember when I dropped her off, when they left, I was praying in the car. I was like, God, if this is your will for us to get married in August, please provide the money for the ring by the first week of March.
Yeah.
If I get the ring by the first week of March, that means I want that to be confirmation for the wedding, and I'm gonna propose by the end of March. I said this on a Tuesday. I prayed that on Thursday. On a Thursday after I dropped her off. See, the weekend came, and Melanie was like, "Babe, right now that I'm not gonna be here, talk to my dad." And I was like, "No, I'm gonna talk to your dad when you come back, so we can all talk together." I was trying to avoid that talk, and then she was like, "No, talk to him this weekend." I was like, "Okay, I'll see." So then Saturday came. I was pulling up at her house, and then her dad was pulling up at the same time, and he was like, "Hey, what's up? You trying to go eat? Let's go to IHOP real quick." I was like, "Bet, let's go." And in my mind, I was like, "God, what's going on? Is this you trying to set me up?" So then, in my mind, I was like, "God, if this is your will, make him start the conversation." And I said that because I knew he wasn't gonna do it. And we were eating, bro. We were eating. And then he starts talking about that. I was like, "God, are you serious?" Bro, he starts talking about like us getting married and stuff. And I was like, I never expected that from him.
Yeah.
Because I know how he is. So I knew he wasn't gonna start the conversation. And then I told him, I was like, "Look, I was literally just praying about this." And I told him what happened that week. I was like, last Sunday we went to that church, and because he knows the pastor, he was like, and the pastor told us this and this and that, and me and Melanie started planning on Monday, and then this is what we have. And then he started crying. He was like, "Yeah, I mean, you have my permission, man. You already know. Go for it. I already know this is from God." And he was crying when he was telling me that. So he knew, bro. He knew. And then that was on Saturday. The next day, on Sunday, I went to her house, and I was in the basement. I was watching TV there, I think, or a movie. I don't remember. And then this brother from the church, he calls me. He was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just here chilling at Melanie's house." And then he was like, "Come over. Come over. We have Colombian food." I was like, "Bet." And this was my first. I was barely like getting to know them, and this was my first time going to their house. So I went to the house, and then I sat on the couch, and then this couple, they're very close to us now, and then he was there. He was looking at his wife, but he was laughing. He was like looking at his wife and looking at me, and he was laughing. I was like, "What's going on? What's up?" And then he was like, "We want to tell you something." I was like, "What happened?" He was like, "Me and my wife, we've been having this set of rings for like 5 years." They had barely been at church for like 5-6 months. And he was like, "I took him to the store because I wanted to return them because they didn't fit my wife anymore. I wanted to return the rings, and when we went to the store, they were only giving us 40% of the rings, because I didn't have the receipt, but they were giving us store credit. I think they said that they paid like $7,000 for the rings, and they were only giving them like $3,000, something like that."
Yeah.
He said that my wife didn't want to take that money, and she didn't want to take the store credit, and he said that his wife told him at the store that the Lord told her that they had to keep the rings. They were gonna bless a couple, and then they kept the set of rings. And then he said that at their old church there was a couple that they thought it was them, and then they start praying. They start asking the Lord if it was them, and he said that they gave the Lord a date, but that day, if they didn't have confirmation, it wasn't them. So that day came. They had a dream that it wasn't them. And that same day, that couple called them, telling them that they broke up. They were not going to get married anymore. And then, they kept holding the rings. Another couple came, and then he thought it was them, but his wife thought it wasn't them, and they ended up breaking up.
Jeez.
And then that weekend that remember, I prayed this on a Thursday when I dropped Melanie off. On Saturday, I talked to her dad. On Friday, and then on Sunday, I was at this family's house, and they were telling me this whole story about the rings. And then he was like, on Friday, me and my wife, we woke up, and then we had the same dream that it was you guys. Bro, I started crying. I was like, bro, what the heck is going on? I started crying, and I told him, I was like, look, last Sunday this happened.
That's
On
crazy.
Thursday, I was praying. I was asking the Lord to like give me the money to buy the rings that me and Manny had looked for. The rings that I wanted to get her, they were like $700. And I was, I told him I was telling the Lord to give me the money by the first week of next March of next month, which is March. And I told him that was confirmation for me from the Lord that I was gonna get married on August 31st, and I had to propose by the end of the month. And I was like, it literally happened like 3 days after I prayed. I had both of the rings, bro, and they were beautiful.
Guy was like 700. Hold up. Let me add another zero to that.
For real, dude.
And you won't have to pay nothing.
And it literally, bro, it was like that the whole time. Throughout the whole time that we were engaged. The apartment was another blessing. The dress was a blessing. And we just kept seeing God, bro. And we still seeing God every month when we have to pay stuff.
Yeah. You always tell me like, man, God came through again this month with the rent. God came through this month. Something happened.
God been blessing me literally like a day before I have to pay the rent. Bro, literally, me and Melanie, we don't worry. We don't worry, bro, because we already know God's going to come through. I freelance, bro. I do photography, graphic design, and sound for like different people, different churches. So
yeah,
God always opens up a door. I don't know if you remember before this pandemic happened, we had a service and Katie preached. And I don't know if you remember, Katie ended up not even preaching that day because it was crazy.
Yeah,
it was
just worship.
Exactly. And I don't know if you remember at the end, Katie was like, I just feel from the Lord that we have to give the Lord an offering, whatever you can. And I remember we made a line and everybody was giving an offering.
Yeah.
And Katie was like, pray for something to happen. Ask the Lord for something to happen. And I remember that night I only had $40. And I was holding those $40 because after that we had planned that we were going to go to TGI Friday.
Holding it tight.
For real, dude. So, and then I just felt from the Lord, like giving those $40, bro.
Jeez.
And then I told the Lord, I was like, God, I just want to pay off the credit card debt that me and Melanie have. And it was like around $7,000, bro. Literally like around $7,000. And, like during this whole pandemic time, bro, I've seen the Lord come through. And like in the past 2-3 months, bro, we're only like $300 away from the debt.
That's crazy.
Yeah, bro. And now
in a pandemic,
bro,
our job is limited. Churches are closed. That takes off like almost 50% of your work.
I don't even know how it happened. Like for real, I don't even know how it happened. And then, bro, pastors be blessing us out of nowhere. People that we know that we're close to, they just come up to us. They're like, "Yo, the Lord told me to give you this," and we're like, "What?"
Bro, and it's so crazy because God will. It'll just happen.
I'm not even lying, bro. And I say this, all glory to God for real.
Yeah.
It literally happens every time, bro. Almost every month. I already know it's about to happen. Like it's crazy. And me and Melanie, bro, there's so much grace, bro. There's so much grace. And God just keeps showing up.
What would you say as your last words? What would you recommend? What words of encouragement can you give to maybe a person listening who loves art, who loves to produce, who loves to design, who loves to do all these things, right? And wants to help the church out? Well, what can you say to them to encourage them?
I feel like when you're someone that's creative in a lot of areas, one of the things that it's very important that helped me a lot is finding a community that is going to push you to be better, to grow those gifts in you. And because my church did that, and I found out that it's not just about the gift. There's something else that you need to back it up. We need to push you to seek Jesus more. We need to push you to and teach you how this works, what this is.
It's discipleship.
Exactly. A lot of us we're just Christian, but we just have the title, but we don't know that there's more to it. So definitely finding a place where you can be disciple, and when there is people that are going to be there for you. You already know, bro. At our church, we're all there for each other, bro.
Yeah.
And when we see things like what's happening to me happening, we get excited for each other.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful, because that's kingdom, bro. That's literally kingdom. That's what God wants. So definitely finding a place where you can grow, where you can be disciple, and where you can get to a place that you can disciple. It's important, bro.
Wow.
Big time.
Yeah.
Because even at our church, even now that I'm married, I think that's one of the things that just having people there that can help me now that we're married. It's a big thing, bro. You need that at a church.
Yeah. And I think even for me, even with my testimony, like asking for a church, like when I was down and out and I didn't have a church to go to, obviously being a millennial, like, yeah, I could go to Google and look up church and go through reviews, check out Yelp, see what's good, see what the people saying, you know what I mean? Or you could pray and say, God, give me a church, give me a community, give me somewhere to go, and then just be patient and allow him to bring you into that place. And that's what I did. I prayed. I said, God, I want to go to church. I want to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Help me, give me a church. While I was still asking people, hey, what church you go to? What church you go to? And then all of a sudden, hey, you want to come to my church? Oh yeah. Send me the address. Boom.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest way to get there. I'm like, whoa, okay. Yeah, that's
and
God.
There's also like people that are already in a church, but they don't have that like discipling and stuff like that. And it's okay. You can still ask the Lord to like guide you to a place where you can get all of that.
Yeah. I think that's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
People are still people. Humans are, we're still humans. They might think they're at a good church because they feel comfortable, but that doesn't mean it's a good church.
And I feel like I was never going to leave that place. And I love them. I'm still close to them, but I just grew.
Right.
And I didn't fit there anymore. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.